Welcome back to the Fan Speak Network and another episode of Betting to the Future. That's right. Last time we talked NFC future bets. This week, we talk AFC future bets in just 1 minute. That's right. Another week of talking future bets. We are winding down the best ball season. We are ramping up the in-season content. And part of in-season content is looking to the future, betting to the future. So I am joined by Spread, possibly Tyler later. And of course, last week we had fun talking in our 12 favorite NFC bets. Today, Spread, we're talking our 12 favorite AFC bets. How are you doing? Or you got some good AFC futures cooked up for us?
I am doing great, and I'm so excited for the season to finally start. I'm trying to jam it. I was like winding down on my drafting, but now seeing all the overlay that's going to be potentially there on DraftKings, I'm like really upping I'm trying to just rip those $20 drafts because it seems like there's a bit of an edge there that I want to take advantage of. So we've had some interesting news in best ball too, with some late risers and late fallers here. So
definitely. Are you trying to max the Millie Maker on DraftKings?
No, I won't get to max. But
but you're thinking about getting
quit about like 40 or 50, and I was like done. I was happy with my teams, but now seeing that overlay, I'm like, I got to just keep jumping in, and
you want more
even if
action.
I get some of the same guys.
No, I get that. I'm winding down. I'm winding down a lot of slow drafts. I want to have obviously have a live show with Steve, 8:00 tonight, our last sibling showdown of the 2024 season. I believe Andrew and Justin's last live draft of the 2024 season will be tomorrow night, 9:30. Your last DraftKings draft was yesterday of 24 draft season. So check that out. Of course, go back and check out our 8-hour live stream. We had a fun 8-hour live stream on Friday, 8 hours. Awesome guests. We played Jeopardy. You played Jeopardy. It was an awesome show. Fun time. Check that out. Lots of great stuff. So I'm the same with you. I'm trying to really the rest of this week wrap up all my best ball, action essentially, because I want to as of Tuesday just really get into my in-season groove. I'm going to be doing underdog dailies. I'm going to be doing obviously a ton of sports betting, and then of course DFS as well. So I really want to get into that. With that said, I want to remind everyone that on this channel, and that's of course, and this episode, and of course, subscribe to the FanSpeak Network. But on this channel, we cranked out a lot of good best ball content this summer, Spread, but we've got a lot more in-season content coming to you, and it's going to cover every DGen side possible. We've got you covered, for the things I just mentioned. We got you covered sports betting. We're going to have 4 to 5 sports betting shows a week. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a DFS show or 2. We're going to have an underdog daily show or 2. It's going to be covered every which way. So please be sure to subscribe, tell a friend. We appreciate it. We see Best Ball Nation chat. This man has been doing a 10-hour live stream. The champ, Felix, I saw you in his chat earlier, Spread. I jumped in. Felix won the DraftKings. We were just talking about DraftKings Best Ball Championship, won a milli on DraftKings Best Ball, I believe 2 years ago. He has Best Ball Nation. Be sure to subscribe and check that out. He is doing a 10-hour draft today, and I don't know if it was 10 hours yesterday, 10 hours tomorrow. So let us know, Felix, but that's awesome. And then awesome that you're checking in with us after 10 hours of drafting. So any other final thoughts of getting ready for the in-season prep here, Spread, before we truly get into the in-season content next week?
You're going to get all my thoughts in these picks. So let's just dive in.
I don't know if I'll be able to get all the ones up on graphics, but we will hit them. And so if Tyler doesn't join us, we will each give you 6. Spread, give me your first one. AFC best bet.
All right. I have one here at the top, but I'm going to save it just in case Tyler jumps on. So I'll go to my second favorite one.
Okay.
Over 9.5 wins for the Miami Dolphins. When I look at the Miami Dolphins, this team just screams regular season dominance. We know they play well in warm weather. They have that great home field advantage during the early part of the year with the humidity and the heat. They're going to get off to a fast start. Do I believe in this team for the playoffs? No. And I think that's kind of one of the downsides of being based in Miami And I always said this before, there's a columnist that I love out here in San Francisco named Bruce Jenkins. And he always said, football wasn't meant to be a snow sport. When we originally started this for college athletics, it was you're supposed to play football from August to November, and then you went inside and you played basketball from November to March, and then you go play baseball for the rest of the summer. We've turned it into this winter sport. Miami's not going to be able to compete. I mean, that was the easiest bet of the playoffs last year when they traveled to Kansas City to play in that cold. However, a majority of the regular season will be played in warm weather. This Dolphins team, the offense is awesome. The defense might have lost a little, but I don't think it even matters. How many of those games, Meg, did they have their foot off the gas by the second half here?
Oh, tons. Yeah, a lot.
McDaniel's continuing to improve as a coach. Give me over 9.5 wins for the Miami Dolphins.
I like that, and I'm going to stick in the AFC East. You're going to see several of my bets have a Jets theme. If you don't agree with me, this is how I feel. This is how I'm betting. This is how I have drafted in best ball. My highest team exposure is probably cumulatively the New York Jets. I am bullish on Aaron Rodgers bouncing back. Obviously, players bouncing back from Achilles seem to be going a lot better than they have in years past. A pocket passer, I'm not concerned about that. I know his age. He's 40 years old. But, don't mess with an Aaron Rodgers scorn. So my first one is taking a long shot on a Super Bowl. And you got Jets Super Bowl is 18-1. I think the Jets definitely could have as good a chance as any. I think they win the AFC. The AFC East. That's going to be part of another parlay that I have for AFC division parlay. But I think they win the AFC East. That obviously gives them some home field advantage. Dolphins would probably have to travel to New York or some other cold weather stuff, meaning the Dolphins don't get the home spot. I like Jets as good as anybody or to compete with. Obviously, we know Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC and the NFL, but I think the Jets can do it. And of course, any team needs health to stay on their side. So if, health does not break perfectly for the Chiefs, well, then, I think Jets are one of the stronger all-around teams in the division. Thoughts on an 18-1 for the Jets?
Like I said before, it's really hard to argue with these 18-1s.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell any of the viewers not to tell you there, but I will say I'm not going to.
Right.
I know you say the ACLs are doing better, but he's still 40 years old. And my also concern is he didn't really look that good in the playoffs during Green Bay. I remember being frustrated watching him, feel like that he was like checking down and worried about his stats and not getting interceptions rather than pushing the ball down the field during his very last playoff performance as a Green Bay Packer. So those are the couple reasons. They missed
the playoffs the last year with the Packers. That was the rough year, the first year with the rookies that are now have blown up and are looking great for Jordan Love. And then the year before they had the early exit against the 49ers, but that was again in the frigid Lambeau temps.
And that's the one that I'm thinking about where it just felt like he was just throwing the ball away on third down.
I mean, it was also negative gazillion degrees.
Quarter.
Yeah.
If you throw an interception, it doesn't matter. You don't want to punt. But here I'll say a couple good things about what I believe in your pick. I think that I don't know if the defense is underrated, but it's a Super Bowl caliber defense. Mm-hmm. So first things first, we have to have that. Like, for example, the team that we just talked about, the Miami Dolphins, I don't believe that's a Super Bowl caliber defense. No. It's definitely a Super Bowl caliber offense, but not a Super Bowl caliber defense. But I think the Jets have a Super Bowl caliber defense. And I have a little bit here that's going to kind of go with your bet. So I'm going to just go right into that. My concerns are with Rodgers. We have two older quarterbacks we disagree on, and that's fine. That's the point of the show. But I think both Rodgers and Cousins, I'm not expecting as much as you are for those injuries. And we'll see who's right. Neither of us are Sebastian Firon. Neither of us are degen doctors. And so
good call out. I like that.
Right. There is a little bit of quote unquote gambling involved, and especially when we're trying to guess health, because I bet you Sebastian would tell you, even someone who's more qualified than he is, still there's a lot of guesswork involved here. But I'll tell you where there's not guesswork involved. And this is another one predicated on health. But I got Breece Hall over 7.5 touchdowns at plus 105. How is this plus money?
Yeah, that's insane.
How is this only 7.5? I don't get it. So maybe I'm just too fantasy brained and just seeing him being picked at between the 4th and the 7th pick for the last month and a half, the second overall running back. I'm looking at some of these other running back rushing TDs. Let me pull this up. I got to scroll down a little bit. Like he's the same as Joe Mixon. I think he's going to have way more opportunities than Joe Mixon. Jonathan Taylor's at 9.5. I wouldn't be surprised if Breece Hall had more than Jonathan Taylor.
Well, especially with Anthony Richardson being a touchdown vulture for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
But I think Jonathan Taylor only gets there if Richardson got injured and Flacco had to go.
Yeah. Derrick Henry's at 10.5, and he's going to have some issues in the red zone there. I mean, he's going to get a lot of that red zone work, but on the longer red zone attempts, Lamar's rushing ability, not to mention having Andrews back in the mix. So I was really surprised. I thought this number would be 8.5 or 9.5. So
that's got to be a big alt for 10 then if you wanted to alt.
Yeah, I don't have alts here. The numbers that I'm giving you today are going to be from bookmaker.eu.
Okay.
If you guys are offshore. I know that because FanDuel and DraftKings are more aware of player props. For example, what's my max here? My max here is only 1,000 on this, whereas that Miami Dolphins win total, my max, I could go up to 32,000. So they're not taking the same liability. I think FanDuel, because they understand player performance so much more, they're willing to take more liability on player props.
Yeah, Breece Hall, you can alt to plus 210 for 10 touchdowns because they could do like 6, 8, 10 for.
I would throw maybe a half or quarter unit on that as well. But this 7.5 number is to me a mistake, and this one jumped out to me the most of any player prop on the board.
I agree. I like it. I'm going to stick with the Jets themes. You guys are, again, if you don't like the Jets, if you don't like Aaron Rodgers, if you don't think it's going to happen this year for them, because Jets are going to Jets or whatever they say. Okay, but spread. I think we're in the same age range here. Let's give a little respect to people in their 40s. 40s people, they're not ready for nursing homes just yet. And Tom Brady showed that he can perform in the 40s. He won MVP, and when he was 40 years old. I think Aaron Rodgers would love to. Again, don't mess with an Aaron Rodgers scoring coming off this year-long injury. And you can get Rodgers MVP 25-1. He would tie Peyton Manning for 5 MVPs total with that. He would tie Tom Brady. These are GOAT legends that I just think are important to Rodgers' overall resume. Yes, I believe he wants to, of course, win a Super Bowl, but I do think these personal achievements are important to his overall resume and legacy as well. And he would tie Peyton Manning for 5 total MVPs. He would tie Tom Brady for being the oldest MVP at age 40. He actually turned 41 in December. So I think those are a little interesting wrinkles. If Rodgers can do, I think what Rodgers did, especially he won back-to-back MVPs, but what he did basically in the back-to-back MVPs, we don't find Nathaniel Hackett to be an impressive coach, but for some reason Rodgers does. So let's see how that plays out. You can get Rodgers at 25-1 as a long shot MVP. I know it's going to gross people out. It's just a fun sprinkle. I actually like Jordan Love a lot on the NFC side. But I know you're probably not going to love this one, but what are your thoughts? I mean, I do think it's in the range of
my concerns about Rodgers. Especially for the regular season. My concern about the check down stuff is valid for the postseason, but if he gets one of those ridiculous touchdown to interception ratios, which he will, because he is not going to turn the ball over. No, I mean, almost to
never
the
has.
point of, like I said, criticism, where it's like you got to take a couple chances here. But you already know my concerns. You're getting 25-1, and let me move on to my next bet.
Absolutely.
And this is a player who very polarizing, controversial, different takes. I've invested in him in best ball. And I know that our guy Felix in the chat has well, because I saw his exposure for this man's wide receiver, Gabe Davis. And that lets you know that I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence. I'm going over on his passing yards, 3850.5. I'm getting another plus money here, plus 114. For Trevor Lawrence to go over. I think this is the year he finally puts it all together.
What was the number again? Over what?
Over 3850.
3850 passing for Lawrence.
This will be his second year in the system under Peterson. I think that's going to be a huge help for him. Or will it be his third? You have to remind me.
Second with actually, this would be a third with Peterson.
His third year. Okay. So I think that's going to help. We're getting a little continuity here. And I think that he played better than his statistics look last year. I mean, how many dropped touchdowns did he have, even by Calvin Ridley, in the end zone last year?
A lot of them were like just this much out of bounds too, or like bottling it as it was going out of bounds or something like that.
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of variance involved in his statistically poor season this year. So I know if you look at like advanced analytics, you're not going to like this play, but I'm going a little more eye test here, and I'm thinking that he's going to continue to improve. So I went Trevor Lawrence over 38.50 on the passing yards. I got a lot of Lawrence here in best ball too, so I guess I'm just kind of doubling down on that bet. I've got a lot of Christian Kirk with that little injury. He's dropping a bit, and I think that people are overreacting there. So you get some good value on Kirk if you're drafting here in this last week and a half, because he was going high in the high 30s now, and I can get him on the 50s in DraftKings a lot. Just put a Q tag next to the guy's name, and he'll drop 5 slots. I wish I could control those Q tags. I would just be putting them on all the players I'm targeting. So what do you think, Meg? I'm going to go with Trevor. Do you think that he has – I don't know if it would be considered a bounce back year. I think it's more of a breakout year. I think
people are waiting for the breakout. Yeah, I think people are waiting for the breakout.
He's got to live up to it. And if he doesn't this year, I mean, they're still going to keep going with him, but I think he'll kind of be forgotten. The big contract,
but yeah, there'll be a lot more narratives pushed if he doesn't kind of have that breakout year. And no, it'll be interesting. I like the bet though. I mean, I think it's they kind of obviously they lost Ridley, but they got Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. So no, I think it's still set up to succeed there. So I like that. Obviously, the AFC South has also gotten more competitive, as we know, with the Colts, and that used to be kind of a pushover division, but with the Colts and the Texans, and then I think based on the talent and coaching staff that the Titans put in place, they're not going to just be a rollover team. So hopefully that's giving a lot of back and forth too. We need that in
right. And if the Texans can put up 40 and the Jaguars are playing from behind in those couple of games, those could be some more yards for me. So
exactly,
potentially improved offenses in Indianapolis and Houston can only help my cause.
Exactly, it totally helps.
And that's why I went with the yards and not the touchdowns or the Jaguars team total, which was tempting at 8.5. But I thought that with this bet, I had a better chance of getting there, even if they're not good.
Yeah,
because if they don't go over that 8.5, to me, I mean, obviously it could just be the offense being terrible. But I would think that it's more likely to be the fact that the defense just is not improving. I know a lot of people are second guessing that Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson pick. Yeah. And they've had problems consistently being good on that defensive side. But for this bet, the defense is bad. It almost helps me. So that's why I went with the yardage total here for a player who I'm expecting and kind of hoping just for the future of the NFL that he has a breakout this year.
Yeah. As we talked to you and I have had a lot of conversations, and I look forward to these, just general in-season real life NFL conversations, and not just speculations, but conversations about the in-season and the in-season data and what's happening week to week. But you and I have had a lot of conversations about that we are just deprived of good quarterback play overall, and that's why scoring's down and all the things. And so it's just good for the NFL if Lawrence has a breakout year, if he becomes,
and he's going to need to with those 5 Hall of Famers getting drafted, Meg. So he's got to make his mark now.
Yeah, watch the eyes roll back in my head. Have to shout out again, Felix. He 10 hours tomorrow, and he's excited to see if you have a Raiders bet. So again, check out Best Ball Nation.
Originally, I didn't, but if I'm going up from 4 to 6, I think I could squeeze one in.
Okay, you could squeeze one in. I bet I know what you might be able to squeeze in too.
I mean, it's gonna be real basic. Yeah.
I need to get the number on this, but you're getting, if you go to on, and I'm looking obviously at FanDuel Sportsbook, if you go to the parlay tab the division tab, sorry, I was using the parlay tab for something else. But if you go to the division tab, you can bet the different division winners. And in the AFC, what's really interesting is really the favorites you're getting plus money to take a shot on. So you can do the Texans, the Ravens, and the Jets all plus money. Texans are plus 105, Ravens are plus 145. Jets are plus 160. Obviously, it looks like Buffalo's a little down this year with defense, obviously offensive weapons. Dolphins, we talked about how we think the offense is going to be elite. We think they're going to get over their win number, but are they going to win the division? Their defense, they lost a lot on defense. And then the Patriots are. So, I love the Jets at plus 160. And I like the Texans getting plus money in that division and then plus money with the Ravens. I think really the Ravens are just battling the Bengals. So to get those three at plus money, you get a 12-1 bet. So that is my bet number. I think that would be number 6. And I'll just put it on the screen is Jets, Ravens, and what did I just say? Texans division winners. And that's 12-1. This is, of course, over on FanDuel Sportsbook. While I put this up, I will add that if you want to get spicy, want to get crazy, I mean, Tyler, if he was on, would go nuts at this because he's, a Chiefs truther, and Chiefs are going to win, just are going to waltz into the thing. And they're set up for it. But, Spread, what people seem to always forget year to year with these futures is you need health. You absolutely need health to hit your division, to win the division, to go over and win totals, obviously for the prop bets. But as a team, for the win totals, division, conference, Super Bowl, you need health. And I think one thing that the Chiefs have run very well the last few years in staying healthy overall. They got very lucky in the Super Bowl last year. And I know they're set up to three-peat, but what if they don't stay healthy? Like, I'm coming from a very cynical outlook where in Washington, if you have your quarterback or receivers or main weapons or offensive line stay healthy, you're freaking shocked. It just never happened. So, they've kind of had a horseshoe up their ass in many ways, but they have in health too. And I'm not wishing that on anybody, but I'm just saying it's football. What if Mahomes goes down for a while? What if Kelsey goes down for a while? What if the offensive line gets decimated? If you want to get spicy, the only other, no offense, Spread, the only other team that could give that division a run for money if one of their, if the Chiefs got hit hard with the injury bug, is the Chargers, and you could get a 62-1 just betting the whole AFC. So I think that's fun, but I'm going to bet the Jets, Ravens, Texans division winners at 12-1. So that's my thought on the Chiefs being talented, but also have run very well with injury luck and luck, especially Super Bowl. That's my thought on the division winners on the AFC side. What are your thoughts on those before we get to your next bet?
Least favorite is the Jets.
Really? Who do you think's winning the AFCs? Dolphins?
Buffalo.
With that defense is Matt Milano's out for most of the season. They've been hit hard on losses of free agency and injuries. I have a couple good Buffalo friends that are like, "Ugh, this might not be the year."
I just like Josh Allen so much.
Oh, of course.
And I think he's going to continue to improve. And I think it's going to be an addition by subtraction with getting Diggs out of there.
Oh,
I know fantasy
people
aren't going to like it because I think he's going to spread the ball around. Which is why best ball is great, right? Because we can just get our Curtis Samuels and our Khalil Shakirs and just have them spike in 4 to 5 times. And not have to worry about the sit-start decisions. I still think that offense is too high-powered, and the way that the league has changed with all the rules, defense has definitely been right. What I'm trying to say is now more than ever, you can win with the bad defense because of the way that they've just hyped up these scoring rules. The Texans being plus money to me is crazy. If you've listened to these shows, I don't think that Indianapolis is as good as people think they are. I do like Shane Steichen.
I do like Steichen a lot.
Yeah, I do too. And he's a great
really
coach. And I think Sean Payton's a great coach too. But you didn't put the Broncos in there.
No, I did not.
On your thing, just on the ability of the coach. And I think that they have a quarterback who I do not think will stay healthy. And Joe Flacco is great. And I think I told you guys in the chat, I've been grabbing him in round 20 on DK.
Yeah.
I just don't think Richardson's going to stay healthy and I'll have a chance to be unique. At the
Sebastian
same time,
talked about how he's never had a healthy season ever. So,
Yeah. And is he going to be able to win the division, though? I don't know. So now in my mind, and I'm throwing the Titans out. Great story. And I guess they could do it. But I think
they'll be fun to watch. I think they'll be feisty this year. Yeah,
we talk about bad defenses, though. And I think Vrabel was keeping that thing together with the duct tape and I think that they're really going to fall off there, even if they're a better offense or a better fantasy team. So to me, it's between them and the Jaguars. And as much as I like Trevor, the Texans probably have a better defense. And right now
definitely.
they have a better offense.
Yeah.
Even if Trevor was as good as CJ or CJ falls off a bit, because that's possible too, right? We've seen players come in and be awesome rookie year and kind of take a step back, especially with all the pressure and everyone telling them how great they are all offseason. But still, more weapons, better offensive line, better defense. I can't believe the Texans are plus money. So to me, that's your best bet. The Ravens, I don't disagree with.
But it's really just them and the Bengals, right? I mean,
right. And I think
you and I both love Tomlin, but I mean, they're really in that wild card mix every year.
Yeah, that's going to be a wild card team. Yeah. I almost put them on there for their over 8.5, but I left them off. However, I just think price wise, I think the Bengals and Ravens are so close that I'm getting a little better price on the Bengals, which is why betting wise, I prefer them. But if we're just doing predictions and we don't have to take price into account, I think the Ravens probably have the best chance to win. I just think that the teams are closer than what these odds makers are giving them credit for. And that's basically just because I like Burrow's ability to get things done in close games.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you an extra couple wins a year, even if the Ravens have a more talented squad.
All right. What is the seventh bet for today for AFC? What is your next one, spread?
I'm going to answer this question real quick. Jordan says,
do
I think BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., can elevate Trevor to the next level? It's an interesting way to put it. I think Trevor can elevate himself to the next level. And I think that Thomas will help that along. He's really come on strong. And we've talked about it before. If this wasn't, the best wide receiver class we've seen in, I don't know how long, 20 years or maybe even more. If he came out last year, BTJ would have been a lot higher there. So I think Trevor can elevate himself, and I think that Brian Thomas will be right there. So I don't know
the fact that they added Gabe.
Go ahead.
But I was going to say, but the fact that they added Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. is just key to Trevor continuing to elevate, I think.
Yeah, I think Brian Thomas helps more than Gabe Davis, personally.
Yeah, agreed. Totally agreed.
Because I think he's more versatile. I mean, all Davis is going to do is really stretch the field, get the big plays, which is why we're going to like him in best ball, because he'll go for 4, 120, and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But a lot of those drives, I think, will be Thomas and Ingram working underneath. I don't know if you saw it earlier, Jordan. If you just logged on, I did bet Trevor to go over his passing yards this year. So I am a believer in that. I just believe the Texans' improvements on defense. And don't look now, Meg. I know you love Sauce Gardner, but I've heard some scouts arguing that Stingley's going to be the consensus
I've heard
number one
a lot. Yeah, I heard a
year.
lot of positive stuff about Stingley.
And they beefed up their defensive line as well in Houston. So where Jacksonville didn't necessarily do as much. So that's our thoughts there.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us, Jordan. Love the question. And let's hit number 7, best bet, and your next one, spread.
All right, and I'm going to continue to go off our best ball rankings, Meg, and be surprised at some of these numbers. I took Devon A-Chain over 775 yards rushing.
Okay. Over 775.
Okay, so most of these, right? Because we're choosing good dynamic players. It comes down to health. And I can understand there'd be more concern with health, with him being a smaller guy and him knowing that we're going to get the rotations. However, let's just revert back to what we've been talking about all summer, Meg, and that's our fantasy performances. What is our big concern for A-Chain or A-Chan, however you want to pronounce it? It's most they're vulturing them in the red zone. But who's going to get the majority of this work from the 20s to the 20s? Mm-hmm. I think that it will be A-Chan, and I know that he is a competent passer out the backfield, but
that's the only thing that worried. That my only pushback is going to be how much are they going to use him?
That's coming from that Shanahan tree, and we know they like to run more than 50% of the time. Most of the time, their splits come in there at 53, 54% rushing plays, 46% passing plays. In a league where 58% passing plays is not that crazy for some of these other teams, maybe the Jaguars that we just talked about. So I do believe that he's going to have plenty of opportunities to do it. He averaged the most yards per attempt last year of any player in the league, and I think he's going to get plenty of attempts. with most of these props, because we've chosen the very best players in the league, it's going to come down to health. But I believe he stays healthy, and I think he goes over this number. I thought it was a little low. I thought it would be like 875.
Right. No, I think it seems a little low too. Absolutely. Despite being in a timeshare, I mean, he's just so explosive. So I like that one. And again, like I kind of stuck with like the Jets theme, liking different Jets futures, like the Jets this year and their offense. You've kind of stuck here with the Dolphins, and I like it. It was a quick say hi to Jamie and Chad. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me go over and do my next one here, and I'll type it up in a minute. But so where I had it here, I mean, so sticking with the Jets theme. So I'm going to stick with the Jets theme. You talked about Breece Hall, how 8 touchdowns seemed like ridiculously good price. You could alt it to 10 touchdowns for plus 210. Well, I'm going to go to the other side of the other main weapon, and why I like the Jets so much this year. And that would be Garrett Wilson. He's only had 7 touchdowns combined in the last 2 years, but he's had garbage as quarterbacks. He now has Aaron Rodgers. He can be the Devontae Adams for Aaron Rodgers this season. And 10 plus touchdowns, you get plus 200. So I also, by the way, love he's gone over 1,000 yards with garbage quarterback play. So if you look at the yardage, I like that as well. He's gone over 1,000 and over 1,100 the past 2 seasons with awful quarterback play. You get plus 145 for 1,250 receiving yards with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, and you get plus 200 for 10 plus touchdowns. So as I type that up, give me your thoughts on the 2 Wilson props.
I mean, I think you know my thoughts on the Jets. You're basically betting on the quarterback health on that bet.
Yeah.
Remind me of the backup off the top of my head right now. It is.
I think it's oh geez, it's on the tip of my tongue. I think it's Bridgewater.
I'm gonna look it up right now. I don't think it is. But my point is,
Tyrod Taylor. Sorry, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, if it's Taylor, I don't think you get there. So one thing, we've already talked about it. You're betting on the health. You believe in it. I don't. One of us will be right. And if you're right, you're going to be collecting a lot of money, because I'm not betting against you. I'll be rooting for you. Aaron Rodgers is a NorCal guy. Went to Chico, went to Cal. I'd like him to have a great season. So I'll definitely be rooting for you, not betting against you there. I am going to go. I was going to see if Tyler's here so we can have some fun with this. I'll bet you can guess where I'm going. But
I know where you're going.
No, not Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm going with the whole team.
Okay.
Denver Broncos to go over 5.5 wins. Unfortunately, even in this last week, it's got juiced. So now I would try and find like a 6 and pay a little less because this is running right now, but I think it's running for good reason. I think a lot of people, scouts included, were surprised when Sean Payton drafted him. And now I'm thinking, well, hey, that's why a lot of these guys are simply scouts, and Sean Payton is a Super Bowl winning coach, right? And he's got all that cachet. And I think that now he has a player that can execute his system. We saw it with Drew Brees. His system does not require you to be ultra athletic. It's not a lot of bootlegs like the Shanahan system, right? You're sitting in there, you're making your reads. They're going to establish the run. They have a different variety of running backs. My concern for this team is the defense, because of that Russell Wilson contract where they lost a lot was on the defensive end. However, I've talked about with all the rule changes, this is becoming a more offensive league than ever. Who do I trust to really coach this kid up, who I thought was better than everyone was getting credit for? And hey, you guys could be right. Like, his ceiling might not be that high, but we're betting this year. And I think even though he might not end up improving year after year after year, like I assume Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams will, where I expect him to keep getting better the first 3 to 4 seasons. We might hit the ceiling faster with Bo Nix. I think he's got a really high floor, and I think we're going to see that floor right away. I could argue that he was the most pro-ready quarterback coming out of the draft due to his time starting as a pure freshman in Auburn and then moving over to Oregon, where he really got some kinks out of the system and really ran a similar style of offense here. So just off the strength that I think the Bo Nix will be serviceable, and then I expect Sean Payton to really bounce back after last year had to be hell on him as he came in there expecting to be the savior of the Broncos, and they had one of the worst seasons. So we got a motivated coach. We got the proper quarterback for him. Let's see if they can coach this defense up properly. But if they can, Broncos easily go up for over 5.5 wins.
I like that a lot. I really do. I think it makes a ton of sense for all the reasons you laid out. And I do think Bo Nix's floor is so good and just is a perfect fit for a Sean Payton offense. So you laid it out perfectly. I like the over 5.5. I think that's very, very attainable. I don't think again, we kind of talked about on the NFC side when we talked about the Vikings, and that's why I'm not poo-pooing them, because I lean into like the coaching, and Sean Payton is not that bad of a coach. There are much worse coaches that I think are going to be on the hot seat to get fired, and I don't think Sean Payton's one of them. So I definitely think they can put up 6 wins. I'm going to go to the 10th best bet, and I'm going to go back to the AFC South, talk Texans. While their receiver room is more crowded, they've got the tight end Schultz. They now have Diggs. They have Tank Dell back. Nico Collins is the alpha. How is his 8+ touchdowns only?
I almost took that, Meg.
Did you really? Then okay. Then
Yeah,
that's good.
I don't
synergy
have
there.
that exact number. I think I had a lower one. Let me look it up.
You probably got
his
actual line.
List.
You probably have his actual line.
Yeah.
So I'm alting it to 8+ and getting plus 220. This seems insane to me. Like, outside of injury, how does he not get there? And again, with all these, I'm fully aware with all these future bets, when you're betting overs and you're betting these alt props and such, obviously you need health. But how unless an injury?
Meg, I have 5.5 at -115.
That's
I
insane.
almost gave that out. That's crazy.
Insane. That's insane. 6. They're only asking for 6 touchdowns from Nico Collins.
I think they're overvaluing this target competition.
Yes, exactly.
We've talked about this before, and actually, I'm happy. I got a little mini Stroud stack this morning when I was drafting on DraftKings before I came on the show.
I need some more Stroud.
I had the 1 pick, and I had McCaffrey. Took 2 receivers, the second 2, and then sitting there, Stroud, Tank Dell at the top of my board.
There you go.
Easy click. And this has the potential to be the top scoring offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, will they? I mean, I think that'd be worth the bet. I don't have that number right now. I'd be curious to see. I'll bet you on yours.
I'm sure I have it somewhere.
Most points. It's got to be 49ers, Lions. Texans got to be in that.
Texans got to be in the top 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
If they're the top scoring offense, I don't see how he doesn't get a ton of touchdowns. I almost put that on there. So I'm glad that we're on the same wavelength.
Oh, we're totally on the same page.
Yeah.
I'll take
we got to argue earlier, but now it's good.
No, we are lockstep on this, which means we got to hammer this bet. So give me your 11th best bet for the AFC here. We each have one more.
All right. Now, I wasn't going to do this, Meg, but Felix is asking, and I got short notice. Give me the Raiders over 6.5 wins. That's why I put the Chargers in the chat as potentially last place here. So for this bet to get there, it's almost the opposite of my Broncos reasoning. I think their defense is going to be really good this year. And I know that the offense isn't going to be good, but we saw the Browns have a winning season last year with questionable quarterback play. And I don't know if the Raiders defense will be the level of the Browns, but I do think it could be a top 10 defense. I think the addition of Christian Wilkins is really underrated. And I don't care if he puts up a lot of stats. He's going to open so much stuff up for that season, for that defense. We saw Patrick Graham work miracles with the Giants. Now it seems like he's doing that over there with the Las Vegas Raiders. And once again, this is only 6.5. And I know that Minshew's not the best quarterback, and we're not targeting him in fantasy. However, he led the Colts to 7.5, 8 wins last year.
He kept them competitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe this team has a better defense than that Colts team did last year, if we're comparing, and probably a little better weapons here. I got a little worried now as I saw Brock Bowers miss practice this morning, Meg, which is why I left him off and just went with the total team here.
I was going to say, I was ready for a Brock Bowers.
I was going to until I got that report this morning out of nowhere
that
he's been missing practice, which is weird because I thought he looked fine during the preseason and was everything that I had kind of been touting.
Hoped and dreamed and more, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that could be trouble. But let's just assume that he's going to stay healthy. And I know the offensive line is going to start slow. But the Raiders have done a good job coaching their offensive line. So even though they're going to take players that are ranked like 72 on Madden, I think they will be pretty comprehensive by the end of the year. And that's why I think they went with Minshew to start, with the idea that once they get this line under control, they can switch to O'Connell, who I do believe is better in the pocket. But it might be rough sledding to start here. But I'll tell you what, I know that you like them, and I know you think that Herbert's an underrated play in best ball, and two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
I am worried about that health. That plantar is not something that goes away. He did miss training camp. It is a new offense. Now, I believe they're going to bully people off the ball, but this has traditionally been one of the worst.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but did Harbaugh bring in his own medical staff? Because this has traditionally been one of the worst teams when it comes to medical staff, when it comes to diagnosing injuries. And we talk about two names that are just fantastic that I don't know if they'll stay on the field. I mean, Bosa's probably going to play, 9 games? I mean, he never plays the full season. Mack's getting a little older too.
Yeah, he's
a little older secondary there. So while the Chargers are better on paper, I think that injuries could decimate that team, and that could be the path to both the Raiders and the Broncos going over their win totals.
I mean, I don't mind it. And I like that you had, folks in the chat asking for it, and you gave them the over 6.5. Steve made a Mike Robb. I like how we going Nico when Cam Akers is alive again. That's hilarious. Steve made a point. Nico had 8 last year, back to that really quick, in only 15 games, and Stroud missed a couple of those games on only 109 targets. So even if you give the 1-20 to 130, I think that makes a great point. I mean, that one we got to hammer.
And target competition might hurt you in PPR, but I don't think it hurts in touchdowns.
Yeah,
because you're going to get less tension on those touches that matter.
Exactly.
Right. Because I can't just load up on Nico in the red zone now. Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if opposing teams actually loaded up on Diggs or Schultz in the red zone and giving Collins and Tank Dell a lot of opportunities there. Not to mention just their ability to stretch the field, because they're not going to be able to just double them constantly. A concern you could have for a player like Devontae Adams or Chris Olave without, who aren't just surrounded by other talented players. So I know we're kind of bouncing around.
No, but I think sometimes we do look at the target competition in the wrong way, to your point. And I think
we're thinking about it from a PPR perspective, especially me as a DraftKings drafter. Target competition means a lot. Yeah. Because think about it, on your underdog, I get 12 receptions. That's only 6 points. That's 12 points for me. That's the equivalent of 2 touchdowns here.
Right.
So target competition means a lot when you're evaluating PPR. Touchdown props, not so much in my mind.
Right, exactly. And I'm going to end the show with one more. So if you want to parlay Wilson, Collins, and the last one I got here for number 12, AFC best bet, Jalen Waddle, 8+ touchdowns, plus 290. He got it to not last year, but the year before with Hill. So it can happen with Hill. If you want to parlay those 3 together, Wilson 10+, Collins 8+, Waddle 8+, you get 36 to 1. But I'm throwing them out individually because I do like them individually. I think getting plus 200 to 290 for these 3 to hit these numbers is insane. Of course, you need the health, but if you get the health, I think 8+ touchdowns. Again, he did it 2 years ago with Tyreek Hill there. Why can't he do it again? We just talked about it. Okay, so they have Jonnu Smith. They have, Achane. I think last year was a health issue for Waddle and why he didn't get there. I think if he can stay healthy, 8+ touchdowns could be a smash at this price. So thoughts on that to round out the show spread?
I know we didn't prep together, but it feels like we did.
I know. Did you like this one too?
That correlate. Yes, I do. I bet the Miami Dolphins over. And one of the things that I mentioned in that handicap was I believe the offense to do good in the regular season, and I don't trust the defense in the playoffs. Well, let's see. I do think the defense is going to downgrade a little. We watched as fantasy players, right? DFS players, right? How many times were the Dolphins, a whole Dolphin stack just at the top of the board at halftime at 11:30 for me, 2:30 for you guys, right? Check your scores. Oh, look, all these Dolphins. I'm going to be in first place. And they do absolutely nothing in the second half because they were up 42-7.
Yep.
If that defense isn't going to get as good, look at even Jalen Waddle's number. I think he was the beneficiary, would be the opposite word, but the person who resulted in this the most. If his first half numbers, if you just made those and you correlate, you doubled them and you made him his full season.
Extrapolate him out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they had first half DFS, he's the best player there is. I don't think that they're going to be able to coast this year as much during
No.
the second half.
No,
So
these second
that's
half
gonna
numbers
only
are going to
help.
help us in best ball and help us get to these props for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree. So
To
I
answer,
agree with you.
we got Jamie asked what site. Spread is on Bookmaker. I am on, obviously in a legal betting state, I am on using FanDuel. FanDuel allows you through, you can have the different tabs like the division, the conference, the Super Bowl, the MVP, all the parlay builder allows you to find those 1,000 plus yards, 1,250 plus yards, 8 plus touchdowns, 10 plus touchdowns. So it makes it really easy to parlay them together. We're just fire them individually.
If
So
you're
FanDuel's
offshore
really
like
nice.
me to get Meg's alts, you go to Bet Online because Bet
Okay.
Online will give you more alts than Bookmaker will. Bookmaker will give you way higher limits though, because
Yeah, if Mike Robb says, I feel like Waddle is always on the sidelines and they're driving because he looks like, because every time he gets a catch, he looks like he got struck by Superman. I mean, both he and Hill will scare the shit out of you about going off to the sideline. You're like, oh my God, are they out for the game? What happened? Both of them scared the shit out of me multiple times over the last 2 years. So that's, not wrong. And again, we need health for all these bets. But to finalize what you were saying, Spread, it was like we prepped together because it seems like all of our bets, and I know I like the Jets more, but we were both very, very in line with the Texans and the Dolphins and
the Jets too. I mean, I put Breece Hall in there.
And Breece Hall, and you had Breece Hall. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We're talking.
I am a little worried about Rodgers' health, but like I said, I'm not betting against it. It just kept me from pressing submit. I'm betting them over. And the more I think about it, when you take defense into account, I'm starting to like your division bet a little bit more.
Yeah, because you're getting plus 120 or something on the Jets division. So again, the theme of this AFC's futures, you got our 12 best bets, run them through. We got the graphics up to help you. But the theme is Spread and I do like a lot of offensive props or division props, or in my case, Super Bowl and MVP props for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. But we like the Jets. We like the Texans. We like the Dolphins as well for these different things in the AFC. So final thoughts. I do need to jump on another show. So Spread, final thoughts before we get out of here.
Fanspeak.com, the place to be, even though best ball summer is coming to an end. We're still going to have plenty of content for you. Meg's going to be shifting over to Battle Royal and those type of daily fantasy contents, as well as helping Tyler and I as we continue to put out our favorite NFL bets. So don't stop clicking on the site just because best ball is over. I'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be previewing week 1.
Absolutely. Yes. Spread said it perfectly. Watch tonight. Steve and I have our final sibling showdown live draft of the 2024 season. I'll try to put out a preview show by Monday or so of what our in-season schedule will like, but it's going to be fun and exciting. To Spread's point, we're going to have a ton of sports betting, underdog dailies, and DFS covering you in every which way. So keep watching, keep hitting that like button, tell a friend to subscribe. We've got you covered all NFL season. For Spread, I'm Meg, and we'll see you next time.